of going forward here, is there a legislative step for your committee to take to address this? Like you said, you want to prevent this from happening in the future. What kind of steps can your committee specifically take to prevent this from happening? And also, looking back, is there anything that can be done to rectify what may have happened in the last 2 years and to punish who you say is responsible for this?
Well, what we need are answers. And we need the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Becerra, to answer the questions that we have. We need to know if this was willful or if this was negligence. We need to find out if it is lawful for him to appoint these individuals retroactively. So we need to get answers to these questions. But this is all part of accountability. Ultimately, this is about accountability on behalf of the taxpayers and ensuring that taxpayer dollars are being spent lawfully. And it's accountability by the elected representatives in Congress of the agency. And no, this is just one example of it seems there's more and more arrogance in the agencies, among agency secretaries and officials, that they don't have to follow the law.
And if I might add to that.
Oh, yes, please.
And if I might add to that, one, shining the light on it's important. Two, I don't think it is proper to retroactively appoint somebody who's making decisions at this level. But if a court were to determine that, how do you retroactively appoint people who are no longer there? And the answer is I don't think you can do that. So even if the courts were to say, well, you can retroactively appoint those people who are still there, how do you, 6 months after retirement, suddenly reappoint Dr. Fauci to a position that he's already left? I don't think you can do it.
Okay, in the back.
Are you investigating any other appointments within HHS, or are you just focused on NIH?
Do you want to handle?
NIH is where we focused at this point. I mean, we're looking at all kinds of things, and there are so many issues going on in HHS that there may be others later, but not that I have, in my back pocket that I'm holding on to for some reason. I mean, obviously we've been investigating the actions at ORR, but I don't know of any appointment problems there at this moment. But we may find more as we move forward.
Yeah. Yes.
Does the committee or do individual members of the committee plan to support any of these potential legal actions against specific policies or appointments or grants?
Well, at this point, I think as the chair, Griffith, just said, it's shining the light on it. We have questions that we want to get answered before really determining what those next steps are. And we have the secretary has a couple of weeks to respond, and he'll also be before the committee at the end of the month. Yes.
You said that you hadn't found any evidence of the HHS claim that other previous administrations have failed to make these appointments.
Yes.
Does that mean it looks like previous administrations did take the steps of properly appointing everyone? Is it there's actual physical evidence there? It's not just a not being able to find anything.
Yes. Right. Yeah. We have evidence that previous administrations have properly followed the law in appointing these individuals.
Thank you. Last question.
Yes.
What are the implications for the $26 billion in research funds that you mentioned? Does this mean you want to take them back? You want to get someone to reauthorize the grants? What does that kind of look like?
Well, it does raise the question around the decisions that were made approving grants by individuals that are not lawfully in their role. So it is an abuse of power by an unlawful individual, and we're this is uncharted territory. So, but we're going to continue to pursue answers and ultimately figure out what we can be doing to make sure that the agencies are accountable. Yep. Okay.
Sorry, just touching up here. I know that obviously Dr. Fauci is not in his position anymore, but there are some of these 14 who are. Mm-hmm. Is there a process since they're not under your investigation legally allowed to be there, for removing them that you guys are looking at? Or what is kind of the recourse if they're not legally in these positions?
Well, I think this really is about accountability. This is about good government. We gave the agency. We brought this. We asked for the documents. Early on, the Secretary Becerra could have made this right early on in March of 2022, but chose not to be honest with this committee. They first answered and lied to us and said that these appointments had been made legally. And then NIH and Health and Human Services, we asked for the documents. They still didn't turn them over. Instead, they gave us this chart that was, again, misleading Congress, but not the documents. And then just a couple of weeks ago, he made these retroactive appointments. So this is an accountability measure this is accountability ultimately for the taxpayers, hardworking taxpayers across this country, and Congress making sure that these agencies are following the law. I don't know if there's anything you guys want to add?
Yeah, I think that's right, and I would say that, the ones who are still there, they did get lawfully appointed a couple of weeks ago. So you have this gap period where I think they probably do have to go back. Any monies that haven't gone out, they've got to reauthorize everything that they're already doing, and each various program may have different steps that third parties who didn't get the grant, who were vying for the grant, may now have grounds to challenge whether or not those grants were not awarded to them and awarded to somebody else. I think it's just a huge mess, and it could have all been avoided. And what drives you crazy is, and as the chairwoman has said, it could have been 2.5 months. Could have been 2.5 months of fixing the problems, which is pretty easy. Instead, we have 1.5 years. This is a big cow pie in the field, and they just stepped in it and stomped in it and acted like it was fun and games until 2 weeks ago.
Very good. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.